Am I the a-hole for telling my bio mom that my real mom is dead? My 25 male biological mother, 45 female, has been trying to get back as a part of my life for the past few years now. My grandmother raised me until she passed away, and I was put into foster care because my bio mom was an unfit mother and was extremely abusive. About 5 years ago, she had begun to tell family that I hadn't been in contact with for many years, that I had died in a car accident and she needed money for the funeral. I only found this out when my grandfather called my adoptive parents in tears, asking what happened. It turns out she got about $1,000 out of him for travel and disappeared. I cut off contact with her until this year when I found out I was very sick, and she reached out to me wanting to make amends. So I went down to see her and my siblings for a week. However, while I was there, she took my car keys from my room while I was asleep and drove my car to another state and spent well over $500 on my credit card. I'd left my wallet locked in my car, and she got it when she took my keys. When I confronted her about it, she began screaming about how I was her son and that I owed her, and that she should have aborted me so I wouldn't have grown into such a selfish man. That she was my mother and I needed to take care of her. I lost my temper and told her that my real mother, my grandmother, her mother, died 20 years ago while she was off high in crystals after abandoning me. I grabbed my things and left and haven't spoken to her since. I feel really guilty for the things I said because I know I hurt her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I know two wrongs don't make a right, but she said some nasty things about you. Don't feel guilty. She is the mother and you are the child. Has she apologized to you for saying she wished she terminated you? For stealing? Maybe it's time to cease all contact forever. I mostly feel guilty for bringing my grandmother into this. I know it's not what she would have wanted me to do. As for my bio mom, no, she hasn't apologized. She sent me a few choice messages on Facebook before I had to block her. Congrats for standing up for yourself. Some things you may consider doing. File a police report against bio mom for the crimes she committed. Sue her in small claims court to recover any money she stole from you. Report the credit card fraud to the companies and get it removed from your account. File a restraining order against her. Not the a-hole at all. She lied to you and robbed you. You owe her nothing and should keep a no-contact relationship with her. Stay away from this woman. The only reason she's interested in a relationship with you is because she thinks she can get something from you. Contact your bank and file a fraud report. Hugs. I wholeheartedly agree with the above post. OP, under the circumstances, I think you showed incredible restraint in not saying anything cruel. You only spoke the truth. Take good care and be kind to yourself. Had she been genuinely attempting to make amends or redemption, that would be one thing. She clearly is not, nor has she bothered to even consider anyone but herself. The truth hurts, and all you did was give it to her. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving up my man cave to accommodate my mother-in-law? My wife and I got married 4 years ago. She has 2 kids from a previous relationship, now 8 and 10, that she has full custody of. Their dad is not much of a figure in their lives. I inherited my parents' house when they died about a decade ago, and since my wife and her kids were living in an apartment, we decided it would be easiest if they moved into my house after we got married. The kids now have their own rooms. There's a yard for them to play in. We got a dog. It's been really nice. About a year ago, my wife's dad got sick and passed away. It's been hard on a lot of her family members, but especially her mom. A few months ago, my wife brought up the idea of having her mom move in with us so that she wouldn't be alone. I was very hesitant since her mom has her own health issues, and adding another adult to the house changes the dynamics of the household completely. After a lot of discussion and pressure from my wife, I finally opened up to the idea, but there are still roadblocks. The biggest being that we do not have a spare bedroom for mother-in-law. My wife's idea is to make the basement a kind of mother-in-law suite. However, I have spent the last decade turning the basement into my man cave. Think bar, pool table, poker table, big screen TVs, etc. I did a lot of the work myself and I'm pretty proud of it. I told my wife that it's pretty much a non-starter for me to give up that space, as it's something I've been working on for a long time, since before I even met her. My solution is to have the kids go back to sharing a room, and mother-in-law gets the other bedroom. My wife said that her kids have gotten used to having their own space, and she won't force them to give that up. I asked her why it's okay for me to have to give up my space but not anyone else. I told her I am the one who is gaining nothing from having mother-in-law move in. Mother-in-law would get to be around family. My wife gets her mom clothes, kids get their grandma, and I would have to give up something that I worked long and hard for? Doesn't exactly sound like a sweet deal for me. She called me a selfish a-hole and told me I'm being ridiculous and stubborn. She told me that this is now her house too, and she's not going to make her kids sacrifice their space when we have a perfectly good space that mother-in-law could use. I told her that the basement is the one place in the house that I do not want changed, under any circumstances. No exceptions. We've been fighting about this for weeks with neither of us willing to budge. My wife is getting more and more hostile towards me and our relationship is suffering. Do I just need to bite the bullet and give up my space? I think I'm already giving up a lot by allowing mother-in-law to move in with us, but am I being an a-hole about this? Not an a-hole. I'm female. If I was childless with a house inherited from my parents, then later married a man with 2 kids who all moved in, then 4 years later get called selfish for not wanting to give up my craft room or whatever for his mother. To be honest, I wouldn't even entertain mother-in-law moving in and tell him to figure out a way to rent or a place nearby as he's presumably not paying for a mortgage. I would be livid. You don't want to give up your space. Where will you hide when you have enough of mother-in-law? Wife doesn't want kids to share rooms. The answer is obvious. Mother-in-law should not move in. Female here also, but I'd be damned if I have given so much of my family home and then be called selfish. I like your idea. Mother-in-law should have property she can sell and benefits from the dad. If she's so bad off health-wise, why isn't her daughter looking into assisted living? Sounds like she's trying to claim some sort of squatter's rights by having mother-in-law there so she can leave Opie and take his house. Again, Opie, I hope she isn't on the deed. No, the house is only in my name. I recommend you double-check with a lawyer. In the case of divorce, she seems selfish enough to go for your home. Not an a-hole. Having someone else move into your home is a situation where every adult gets a veto, barring extraordinary circumstances. Your mother-in-law being lonely does not qualify. Would it not be a compromise to have mother-in-law move into a small apartment nearby? That way, she can still visit regularly, but still go home at night. This. Being lonely sucks, but that is not grounds for a wife to force Opie to agree to her moving in. Not an a-hole. OMG, are you serious? I would say you're the a-hole for marrying this woman. Not only you are raising her kids, and she doesn't have to pay rent, she wants everything. She gets hostile and says this is my house too. She definitely doesn't respect you and what you've given to her. You should think if this is the woman you truly want in your life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be responsible for my stepdaughter? I'm 29 female and my husband, 33 male, are a blended family. I have a son, 5 from a previous relationship, and get along great with my ex who provides so much for our son. He's a great dad. My husband has a 3-year-old daughter and together we have a 4-month-old daughter. My stepdaughter's mom is not in her life at all, and signed away her rights and OD'd after an addiction, so she lives with us full-time. After my daughter was born, I became a stay-at-home mom to take care of my kids. Discussed when I was pregnant. It added mean to her, but postpartum has been bad, so I have changed what I originally anticipated. My husband works and provides for the family financially. When I became a stay-at-home mom, my husband assumed that I would take care of all the kids including his daughter. At the time, I 100% agreed. He said that he was clear when we dated that his daughter did not have a mother, and he wanted whoever he married to take on a full parental role, especially since her mom did not want her to show that she was deserving of a mother's love. I agreed to this, and agreed since I met her when she was a year old. I call stepdaughter my daughter, but using stepdaughter in this post for clarity. However, now after having a baby, I want to take care of my kids because I am so overwhelmed and would like my husband's family to watch my stepdaughter. My husband is furious at me and says he provides for the whole family and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. He said I agreed to take care of stepdaughter and treat her as my own when we dated. I said that things have changed. He argued with me saying that he provides for my son, and I countered saying that his dad does a lot for him. My husband got upset with me and said he knows he has a great dad, but still takes care of him and treats him like his own son. He accused me of being an evil stepmom and hating his daughter. I do not hate his daughter. I'm just overwhelmed with 3 little kids. Note, he had a traumatic birth and suffer from PPD, so this is not a permanent request of mine. My ex helps out more than usual with our son because of this. So am I the a-hole for only wanting my stepdaughter to be home when my husband is there? Edit. I live far from my family. My ex is the only one who can help with my son, though my husband's family does treat my son like their own. I just felt like it would be unfair to let his family watch my son, when I could give more time to my ex since he runs his own company and has flexible hours. My husband has a lot of family that can help with stepdaughter. Now for the comments. You're trolling, right? Yes, you're the a-hole. It's absurd you even had to post this to confirm. If this is real, I hope he gets some help. You need medical intervention immediately. This is not okay. You are not okay. You're the a-hole. Yep, and it sounds like the husband might be oblivious. Hopefully he realizes and gets someone to watch all the kids until she can get it under control. You're the a-hole. You don't get to pick and choose that you'll take care of your children only when you married a man who has a child and no other parents around. You're straight up saying that you don't think of your stepdaughter as your daughter. I do. I just need to focus more on the baby because I am so overwhelmed. I also need help with my son. Then the answer is that you need to seek treatment, not tell your husband you'll only take care of your kids. She's your kid. Major, you're the a-hole. Don't be shocked if he divorces you over this. I want to take care of my kids. Newsflash, she's one of your kids as per your initial agreement. Being overwhelmed with 3 little kids doesn't give you the excuse to pawn one off part-time. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for encouraging bullying? I am a high school teacher. I'm currently teaching a class of 16-year-olds, and this is the class whom this will be concerning. 2 months ago, I assigned them a group project. I paired up 2 students, Faith, female 16, and Ned, male 16. They wrote a pretty good report together, but then close to the end of the project, Faith came to me and said that Ned had done no work. Now, I know Ned. He's well-liked, which is relevant, but also very hardworking and super dedicated. So I was surprised to hear that he had done this. I asked if she had any proof, and she said she didn't have it compiled, but she could get it tomorrow. She comes back and shows me the edit history on her document. I later came to know that she had copied everything, and then deleted it so that it looked like she had written all of it. I initially believed her, but then checked when it was all written, which was the night before. I was suspicious, and asked if she had anything else. She showed me messages which were all basically her trying to organize times to work on it, but him rudely shutting her out. I confronted Ned about it. He was shocked and told me that he had been locked out of Google Document 2 days before. He then showed me the real messages, and it was just them talking about the project and both of them coordinating the work. It was pretty obvious what Faith had done, and I went back and confronted her. I demanded to see the full edit history, and it showed that the workload was actually more 70% to 30%, and Ed had done roughly 70% of the work. I asked her why she had done this, and she told me that she thought that if he hadn't done any work, she'd get a higher grade. I was pissed, because if I had believed her, it's literally a 0% grade for Ned, and his average would have been completely wrecked. I took this to the principal and she was given a 4-day school suspension. I should also add, Ned wants to go into a career where he needs an insanely high average. Ned told the class, and now they all basically hate Faith. She wasn't very well liked before, but now she was actively phased out of conversations. When there were social gatherings outside of school, she was excluded. It's at the point where she's crying every day. I feel bad for her, but it is really her fault, and she's facing her consequences. Now, her mother recently came to school screaming at me and saying that she's having mental breakdowns every day because of the social exclusion and bullying. She's saying I need to talk to the class and tell them they all need to include Faith or else. She also wants Ned punished for telling everyone. Whilst I feel bad for her, I don't feel fair punishing Ned, because this wasn't some super private conflict. It was just a matter of group work, and as such, I never told Ned to not tell anyone. Furthermore, it's just common decency to not pull something like this, and Faith could have ruined his entire life. We're not in the US. Our high school grades matter as that's what gets these kids into college courses which determine their lives. Not day home. First of all, I do not see any part of this situation where you are encouraging bullying. If anything, you were just encouraging the truth to be heard. That girl was willing to ruin someone's work and grades for her own sake because of her selfishness. It lied to a teacher as well as creating fake evidence to prove her claim, which is very wrong. Also, Ned had every right to share the truth to anyone he wanted. I mean, if Faith was ready to do that to him, then what would stop her from doing it to other students every time she doesn't feel like doing her part of the work? The class has the right to know what they might risk if they end up paired with her. I do not support bullying in any way, but she caused the situation to herself. Not you, nor did the other student. She didn't even show any ounce of shame or regrets for what she did. I mean, the least she could do if she truly wants things to get better is to go formally apologize. How else does she expect people to see her as a good person, or the situation to calm down, if she doesn't play the part? I would advise you to just say a word to the class to not take things too far, as there's a limit to justice. This 100%, especially at the high school level, students know the consequences of cheating and lying. But more so what happens when you do it to someone well-liked. Her mom is barking up the wrong tree, and if it is that bad, she should consider transferring her. Not today home. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Maybe look out for Fate though, in case she has some problems with life after her incident. Hopefully she changes for the better. If not, then it's her life. She needs a new school and start fresh. Tell her principal about her mother's demands. Fate isn't that bright, as she didn't foresee Ned having messages saved on his own phone. Not today home. You confronted Ned with the info Fate had given you, and he refuted it. You didn't snitch on her. You investigated her claims. She tried to manipulate you and was perfectly happy for Ned to fail the assignment, but now her peers are treating her accordingly. I'm not sure how you can force a group of 16-year-olds to include someone in their social activities. Unfortunately for her, it's a case of play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I would probably escalate the issue to the school leadership team. She essentially tried to cheat on an assignment, but now her mother has made a complaint. Her mother will likely escalate the matter herself if things don't change, so it's best to get in first so the school is properly informed. Having said all that, she shouldn't have to suffer social exclusion for the rest of her time at school because of one selfish act. Is there a school psychologist who can provide some suggestions on how to help her integrate back into the social group?